Hi, hello. My name is Michael Latokan and I'm from Skillstra. And today I'm going to be doing this presentation on technology consulting and integrating in the resource sector. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free as well if you want to connect after this. If I can't answer your questions during this duration, more than happy to have the conversation. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to be talking about who I am a bit. We're going to be talking about Skillstra, the organization that I run. And we're also going to tackle the question on what we're here for today about technology consulting and how we leverage that in the resource sector. We're going to talk about how to leverage technology, how technology helps our planet, and also give you some tidbits about Skillstra and what we're doing in order to help amplify the technology message. So, in terms of who I am as a person, my background is in computer science. That's what I studied at university. I'm based in the UK, here in London. I'm talking to you right now in the evening. And my journey is here. My journey is in the UK. I started studying and was curious about computer science right until when I went in university. I always had the interest, the curiosity of how things work, how things in the world move a certain way. I was always curious about the nature of things, always curious about the history of things. And that really carried through to my education and my learning. I actually was actually going to study law originally, actually. And that's kind of like a short, funny story, which we don't have time for. But best to say that I don't look back at that thinking, what if? Because I'm really happy where I am studying technology and being in the tech sector. And so now, as I, you know, from 2015, I will take you back there. I just graduated. I did really well in my computer science degree. And I decided to take that forward and work in various sectors. So that's what I did. I started off in the government, ended up working there for a couple of years, decided I was more interested in financial literacy and meaning that I wanted to know more about finance, still as a software developer. And so I moved into the private sector for about another year and a half or so before I started doing my own thing and moving on. And through that journey of learning about finance and understanding what financial literacy was, it really gave me the idea that I wanted to do that for myself as an own entity, as my own business. I wasn't sure what it was at the time. Obviously, I know it now to be Skillstra, but I thought in order to get to that next stage, as I'm building on my experience, I wanted to join a consultancy firm. And so that's where I first got exposed to consulting in about 2018. That was probably the first time I got exposed to consulting, joining a consultancy firm in early 2019. And that's what I did up until recently, as a couple of weeks ago, before I decided to take Skillstruct full time. And so, as I built that experience in a consultancy, and I'm gonna break down what a tech consultant is in a few slides, I just thought it was important for you to see my journey, hear my journey, how I study computer science to where I'm at now, to where it is, where I'm building this organization, this consultancy firm. And what Skillstra is an early tech consultancy firm where we specialize in building tech talent. We work with companies on the recruitment side of things, also on the retention side of things with workshops. And because of my technical background, the ethos in our company is also to help companies understand the power of technology. So we quite often run technical workshops on consulting, what that means, and the benefits for the company. We also give advisory things when it comes to how to leverage technology. And I'm going to talk about some of those things in a few slides as well when we tackle that, how to inject technology into companies. And a big part of what we do at Skillstra as a consultancy is work with young people, as we are an early careers consultancy and we specialize in building tech talent. And that doesn't mean people from a computer science background, it could be a business background, an engineering background. It's just people that are really interested in technology. And how we help students is through something called the Skillstra University Network, which is a virtual network where we give people the tools and access to resources to help enable them with the confidence of learning this technological world. We're talking about resources today, and I think in this analogy, the resources of our young people, planting that seed early and using them as a resource to drive change is really important. So a big passion of Skillstra is to build and empower people, and this is what we do with the Skillstra University Network. So it's those people that we plant the seeds and they go out to actually make the difference when it comes to energy, renewables, when it comes to really making technology or leveraging technology to make it efficient in companies. And we provide tools and services on that for the young people on our platform and empower them with the confidence and the know-how to what it takes. So that's basically what Skillstrut is. And as an organization, we are very mindful of the concept of giving back, and that's how we give back. So we give back to our young people, which in turn plants that seed, and that helps other companies as well grow. And we collaborate with companies on workshops and technical know-how, campaigns and retention schemes in order to build that. So thank you for listening to that, and thank you for taking the time today. And what I'm going to do now is talk about consulting. So I wanted to tackle technology consulting and how we inject that. But for me, it's very important for you to get a little understanding of what it means to be a technical consultant and what that actually entails. Obviously, we only got half an hour or so here, so I'm not going to be able to deep dive into this as much as I really like to. But again, if you have any questions or you want to connect with me after, more than happy to answer your questions. I would say though, take the time to take some notes down because again, like I said, I won't be able to unpack every single thing as much as I really want to, but it's very important that you take notes and you're able to maybe do your own independent research as well as, reach out to myself if you have more questions. So what do we mean by technical consulting or consulting, whatever? It really comes down to using your soft skills and your technical skills to provide and develop technology in a company for a client. And I really highlighted technical skills and soft skills because technology is quite broad. And that means there's a diversity of skill set. So you don't need to actually be a computer scientist like myself. You can easily, as long as, again, the key thing is having a passion for technology will definitely help you and enable you to be a technical consultant. And some of the things we do is things in digital transformation, IoT, Internet of Things. We do things when it comes to AI and the cloud. That's probably something I'll focus on for this talk because that was my background and my specialty, helping optimize companies by using the cloud. And this feeds into my answer of how we inject and how we're able to leverage technology to make a difference with companies that are looking to improve when it comes to their resources. And so there's loads of ways that technology helps drive that. And so again, when it comes to technology consulting, it's all about bringing that to light to companies. And you might be thinking, because some people ask, oh, a consultant's very expensive, or consultants are this or that. Why a consultant? Why do companies should really take an interest in a consultant? Well, here's why. It's really because it comes down to a couple things, really. For one thing, being experts in the field. You really want to take advantage of the fact that consultants normally come with a large depth of skill sets and experience in when it comes to leveraging technology and driving change. So a lot of companies feel confident when they talk to consultants because they do come with that experience and that resume. And that's one thing I learned as a consultant, that you have to be really good at being good at your job. And it shows, and it always will show because you're constantly tested, because you're always changing things, you're always being put in positions where you have to elevate your character. So normally when people ask me, the first thing I say is because we are experts in our field and our resume backs that. Also from a company point of view, we're of a less of a liability. That means we're not permanent staff. That means they don't have to worry about insurance and things like that. Because we're not consultants, we're not permanent members, sorry, of their company. Companies feel like there's less risk involved in that. They can terminate our contracts quite easily. A lot of things go into it. So when people assume there is a heavy price tag to consultants. When you think about the long-term picture, it actually turns out cheaper, especially with the innovation and change that consultants do bring. And again, finally, I just wanted to just bring on this topic the fact that actually, as consultants, we're actually resources as well. I know we're having this theme right now of talking about renewable energy and resources. Consultants in this analogy are resources. Effectively, if you're in the business, you'd be often hearing, we've got this resource to help this company do X. And that resource could be myself. I might bring a particular skill set, and as a resource, I'll help that company, flourish and improve. So using my technical know-how to help innovate in an organization. Similarly to how, renewable energy works, as a resource, you use that in a company in order to make a difference and make things more efficient. Us as consultants also in that analogy fit the same concept as well. So that's why a lot of companies do invest in consultants. So let's talk about injecting technology. And I'm going to do it in this analogy with journey to cloud. So quite often as a consultant, as a tech consultant, you often hear this concept journey to cloud. And I've been on a few projects myself where I've been on this journey with people. So let's take, for example, for this cohort, because we are talking about the energy sector, let's focus on supply chain management, i.e., there's a company that delivers renewable energy or delivers some sort of resource to another company that might sell it to the customer directly. There's a supply chain management involved in that. That might be importing things from one country to another. That might mean storing it in one place. That might mean connecting and collaborating with people in a different geographical location. How does technology solve all that? Well, what we do with as a technology consultant is we do this concept called journey to cloud. So normally with these things, normally the issue is there's some inefficiency somewhere, and because of those inefficiencies, that might very much mean products get wasted, which isn't good for the environment. That might mean time delays on things because there isn't enough cohesion, collaboration in those companies. So what we do as technical consultants, is we try and identify those in the first stage of a discovery. So that's the first step. So let's go in there, let's enter the company and find out what's really going on. So this is how we take them to the cloud. And let me take a step back because some people might not know what the cloud is. So I'll explain it like this. So back in the day, perhaps maybe some of you aren't old enough to remember what it was like to have CDs back in the day. Um, it was something that, we owned our music. We stored it in a CD player. We had a tape where we put things in the radio and we press play. Nowadays, that isn't the case. We have products like Spotify and iTunes and other products where we stream the music as opposed to own the music. Similarly, how the cloud works, and that's the technology that helps in that. Companies will often want to store the data, without worrying about the infrastructure, worrying about the hardware of, holding masses of data. They want things to be scalable, flexible, that sort of thing. And that's where cloud comes in. And so what, Journey to Cloud is ultimately is helping those companies reach that stage where they don't have to worry about infrastructure. They don't have to worry about, location constraints. They don't have to worry about costs when it comes to maintenance. Only they have to worry about costs when it comes to subscribing to a service, which over the long term is a lot cheaper. And again, that's where consultants come in to help finalize how you can actually be more efficient with cloud technology. So yeah, to go back to this, now we've done the assessment. The next phase we do is the migration. So this is effectively a lift and shift. So we take all the current infrastructure, all the code and everything like that, and we move it to the code as it exists. We make sure it works in the cloud. We make sure people are still able to work every day like they always are able to. And once they've done that and tested that, then we get to the next stage, which is refactoring. So what refactoring basically means is how can we make the code more efficient? So we've gotten rid of some of the legacy code, we've done some assessment, and as we've migrated things, we've decided, okay, some things, you know, aren't needed moving forward, some things are obsolete. So again, trying to make things efficient. The next stage is refactoring, which is what I was explaining, to make sure that we're putting the code in the best shape. And once that's done, then the next stage is the redesign. So once we've done that, we've designed the code now in such a way now we can then rebuild the code. And once you've done this, and once everything's in the cloud, what you do find in supply chain management is you're able to be more collaborative, because with the cloud, you're able to leverage, geographical infrastructure, and you're not constrained by previously supply chain constraints when it comes to time delivery, being able to communicate with people from different countries, being able to communicate with people with different languages, time zones, those sort of things. It's very important. And that's how essentially we help when it comes to injecting technology using this sort of mind frame. And when we're talking about leveraging technology in organizations, some of the examples from the analogy that I explained before is using Microsoft Teams, for example. So that's one of the things we do when we help people collaborate all over the world. So if we have constraints and companies are trying to figure out how to best, manage their supply chain management, we often, deploy Teams as a way that people can communicate all over the world, locally as well. I think it's just very important to highlight Teams is one tool. There's obviously other tools like Zoom and other things that companies leverage too. And then we talk about the cloud. Again, because of my background in the cloud, this is what I can explain. Azure is a Microsoft solution that allows you to do cloud computing services. So carrying infrastructure and code into the cloud, for example, and still be able to work every day, but have the comfortability that that infrastructure is being managed somewhere else. And then you have ERPs, which are enterprise resource planning software, which allows you to real time mediate between, processes and technology. So again, helping you manage that supply chain management. And how technology saves our planet. I think it's very important to highlight how technology does save our planet in a few ways. Obviously, there's a lot more ways here. When it comes to electronic cars, for example, where we're not using fuel, we're using technology that we can reuse. And again, it's the reuse factor. We're not at a cost of our natural planet causing detrimental harm. We're using things like electric cars. We're also using technology again like IoT, Internet of Things, to monitor things such as pollution, able to track things like um, economic well-being. We're able to use sensors to, you know, track things that are going on in our planet, and able, based on our data, able to strategize how we move accordingly when it comes to really making a difference in saving our planet. We also have renewable energy as well. So again, leveraging that reuse is very important. So we're still, using the Earth's natural resources, but because it's not, finite, like maybe oil, for example, we're able to leverage that reuse at not a cost when it comes to our planet. So these are some of the ways that we, help save the planet when it comes to using technology. And so moving forward, I just wanted to highlight as well, because I know we were kind of short on time. I wanted to really make sure that you got access to what we do when it comes to making people aware of technology. And so within that, I wanted to just highlight, we do have a YouTube channel where we talk about technology as well. Should you want to do some further research into, how software development works, how does Internet of Things work, how does data science work as well. And I'm happy to give that details if it's not already in the chat as well. Very important to, do your own investigative thinking. So leveraging resources as well to find out these things. I really see this conversation as, planting the seed where you get these certain concepts, you're writing these things down, you're really taking this one step further. We also have a lot of blog content on our website as well, where we talk about technology, where we talk about concepts like knowledge management, all of these things that are very important when it comes to, being efficient when it comes to technology in companies. We also, as part of the SkillStruct University network, do a lot of technical workshops as well. And one of the things we're piloting this summer is a tech consulting, uh, you know, brainstorm, this brown bag session where we get ideas and then we actively train you to be a technology consultant. And that's only through the SkillStruct University network, which again, if you're a student or recent grad that are interested in being a part of this, feel free to reach out. There might be some relevant links in the chat at the moment, but I'm happy to supply that again. And finally, just wanted to say, we have loads of tech talks and guests that normally come onto the Skillshare University platform. And again, on our YouTube channel, we have lots of talks as well when it comes to technology. So yeah, that's pretty much the talk I wanted to give. I just wanted to highlight, the importance of technology, how you can leverage technology. And I wanted to leave some time to answer any questions because I feel it's important to have that dialogue as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. We do have one question. What do you think is the biggest gap that remains within a lot of a tech world? What's your advice for consultants to effectively utilize this information? From Wendy Hamelin.
Sorry, could you, there was a few questions in that. Could you repeat that again? I just want to make sure I answer
Yes.
that correctly.
So the first one in that is, what do you think is the biggest gap that remains within a lot of a tech world?
So in terms of the biggest gap, I would say, is this assuming, working with clients or, just as technology in general?
That's all they had, I think.
Okay, no worries. So I'll just assume in general, I would say the biggest gap I've seen is probably knowledge. And what I mean by that is sometimes there seems to be a knowledge gap where people don't communicate effectively what the real issue is. And so people don't know something, and because of that, assumptions are made. And what you normally see on projects is because of those assumptions, we go 6 months into a project and then we realize the true intention was something completely different. And that's again because of a lack of knowledge or misinformation or miscommunication rather. And so sometimes what I've found, when it comes to technology, it's not necessarily the technology's fault, it's how we use that technology and leverage that technology.
Right.
So not understanding what it is. And that's what I'd say is a big gap at the moment.
And the second question is, what's your advice for consultants to effectively utilize this information? To note, that will likely be our last question. We do need to switch over to another webinar after this, so
Oh, okay,
apologies.
no worries. Sorry, say that last question one more time. So again, I
What's your
really want.
advice for consultants to effectively utilize this information?
I would say my advice is to use this information effectively is to collaborate and to make sure to use this information is to collaborate and work with people. And so once you know this information, do some practice, do some reaching out. And again, it's very important to work with people on this. As a consultant, your best tools are your soft skills. So being able to be a team player, being able to manage your time. And so collaboration is definitely important. And talking to people is something I would say is my biggest advice as a consultant.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's it. That concludes this presentation and this session. Thank you so much, Michael, for doing this. And we really do appreciate this information. And I think it'll be really, really good for students. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think that concludes this presentation. Thank you everyone for attending.
Cheers.
And I will stop the